This is part 4 of the Read 4C Vice Rebuild series. If you haven't seen part 3, click the link at the top of the screen. In this video, we will be wire wheeling, cleaning up some stuff, and working on the handle. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff and welcome to my shop. We got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. Using a wire wheel on my angle grinder, we're going to clean up the static jaw. So this is pretty much what we did with the dynamic jaw. And again, this is an easy way to remove paint if you've got paint on there that you want off. So of note is when you're getting around the areas that have the embossing, or even if it was stamped into the cast iron, that wire wheel on the angle grinder is a pretty powerful wire wheel. And so I use a brass wire wheel in a drill to work around this detailed stuff. And it lets me get in there into the small areas a little better. And it cleans up the area really good. There's a slightly different finish using that other wire wheel. So I usually come back with the large wire wheel and kind of just touch up around it, so it all blends well. Also, just be careful whenever you're going near the stamping areas like that EC or the date stamp. You don't want to wire wheel real heavy in those areas. You don't want to wear that away. So I've got a smaller wire wheel that I use in the drill to get into some of the tighter areas. So having a variety of sizes and being able to work with all this stuff. Now you could do the entire vise with a drill, but the drill doesn't spin near as fast as the angle grinder. So, use what you've got. But that drill with those smaller wheels definitely lets you get into some areas that you can't with the angle grinder. And then we're going to clean out the bores. And so we're just going to use those bottle brushes again. Sorry, I got dog hair all over my shirt. I have dog hair everywhere. You should see the inside of my truck. So just like on the dynamic jaw, we were cleaning out all of the bores. And here we're just wire wheeling the bottom of the static jaw. And rather than hitting that with the sandpaper on the sticks, we're going to hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad on the angle grinder after we get done cleaning up these bores. So that's just a Scotch-Brite pad on the angle grinder. And all we're doing is making sure there's no burrs or anything like that. Cleaning it up a little bit. Again, using that smaller wire wheel with the drill. And then that other wire wheel with the drill that gets into tighter spots. Then we're going to dress all the ways or the milled surfaces inside the static jaw. So if you can see in this picture in the back, you've got those small pads again, and those should be aligned with the tongue area that sticks out the front. So ideally, you want to sand them and the tongue at the same time to keep them nice and level. Then we've got the angled ways on the inside that the nut slides into. And then, of course, we've got the milled surfaces on each side of the openings and on the tops of the openings. And we're not trying to take off a lot of material here. We're just making sure they're free of burrs and they're nice and clean and smooth. So keep in mind that the most aggressive sandpaper I'm using here is 180 grit, and that I'm using very sparingly. Really, I'm starting at that 220 mark and working up to 1,000 on all of those surfaces. So we did not wire wheel these projections on the sides that the lock nut handles go into, but go ahead and wire wheel them now and clean them up. Just finish a couple areas and then blow it all down, get all that dust out of there. All right, so you can remove these handles, or yeah, the handle from the nut. I just, you can see how it's kind of crimped, and if you kind of round it back out, it'll work its way right out of there. So, and this is relatively soft steel. It's a mild steel, so redoing it after the fact is really not an issue, but this is the easiest way to be able to clean all these parts up. So it'll come out of there. There we go. And then we'll do the same for the other one. That handle's a little bent, so we'll try to tap it into alignment a little better, get that bend out of it. If you have a hydraulic press, that'll be easier to do than doing it by hand like I'm trying to do here. But no big deal. So again, we'll do the same with the other one. And there we go. That one's pretty straight, so we're good. So next we're going to start cleaning some stuff up with the brass wire wheel over here on the grinder. So this is that large center bolt that connects the vise to the swivel base. And then we've got the swivel lock nuts. And really, if all you care about is like a nice satin finish, then cleaning all the parts with a wire wheel like this, and you're done. But we're going to take it a step further on some of these parts. These are the handlebars for those lock nuts. And this is the split nut. And this piece is cast iron, so make sure you've got a pretty good hand on it and it doesn't come flying out of your hand and hit the ground, because you could break it or crack it if it does. And then these are the actual locks for the swivel. And they are made out of cast iron as well. And we've got the 4 screws that lock in the removable vise jaws. And there's that little bitty screw for locking in the, I think that's the one for the pin that holds the nut inside the static jaw. And we've got the Vise jaw inserts. And those are hardened steel, so if you drop it, no big deal. And then we've got the pipe jaw inserts, which are cast iron, so if you drop them, that is a big deal. Basically, anything cast iron you don't want to drop. And we've got the Vise nut, and this is hardened steel. We probably could have painted this piece when we painted some other stuff, but I didn't. No big deal. They are prone to rust, but I wouldn't have painted the milled surfaces anyway, so no big deal. We're going to clean out the threads on the inside of that and all the bores that are on any of these parts. Those large nuts are just an extra nut that Jordan had come up with rather than using the lock handles for the swivel base. But yeah. So here I'm just sanding the top side of these jaws. And that's the area that seems to get a lot of love with a hammer. So I'm just sanding them and getting them looking kind of uniform. If we wanted to go all crazy, we could polish that edge, but yeah, I don't think we're going to do that. We're just going to clean them up. You can see all the dings there. And we're not going to remove them all. We're just getting them cleaned up. And then we're going to make sure that they are flush with each other. Now, super slick stuff. This is a Protex product, or I think it's Protex. Anyways, you can get it at Lowe's and at Ace Hardware and on Amazon. I love this stuff. Spray all these parts down that are bare metal, and then we'll wipe them down with a rag after that. Now, those rods that are on the right-hand side and the outside of the two swivel lock nuts, we're going to be cleaning up in the lathe, so we're not going to spray those down. We sprayed the inside of those locks, but not the outside. And that is the protective coating that we're putting on them, is that super slick stuff. That's what we're going to coat the entire vise with later on. So, A-Bomb79 had a video that gave me this idea. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to cut that end ball off of the handle. So we're slicing it right where the end ball meets the handle. We're doing this so we can clean up the spindle and the handle itself. Because if we tried to put this in my lathe like it is right now, that handle would likely take an arm, a finger, or something as it spins. But that allows us to remove the handle from the spindle. Next, we're going to clean up the spindle with the wire wheel. This is a workout. That spindle's pretty heavy. And just turning it with your wrist to get it cleaned up. My wrists were screaming when I was done with this. There we go. So here we are at my lathe. We've got the handle inserted inside the lathe. And this is the side that we cut off. So all we're going to do is face it. And then we're going to chamfer that edge. Then we're going to center drill the handle. So we're going to be drilling out and then threading the inside of the handle for a 1/2 inch by 13 thread. And I linked A-Bomb's video on all of this in the description below. But this made the most sense to me. And for the life of me, I don't understand why they didn't just make these handles like this from the beginning. There's plenty of reasons on why somebody wants to remove that handle. This will make it so that Jordan can remove the handle whenever he wants and do whatever he wants to it. So here we're just going to go through a variety of drill bits. We're basically going to drill this about an inch, 1.25 inches deep, getting it all the way up to 27/64, I believe. That's the size drill bit we need to use to be able to tap it for the 1/2 by 13. I think that's the 27/64 bit. So obviously you're going to need a metal lathe to do something like this. But if you wanted to get it done, you could probably take it to a machine shop and they would do it for you. Then we're just going to go ahead and tap it for that 1/2 inch by 13. Make sure we bottom the tap out without stripping anything. So I'm just using a piece of electrical tape to give me a little stop indicator on where I need to make sure that we tap that deep enough to go all the way to the tape. And once we've got it, just make sure that that's a grade 8 bolt. I'm going to use a grade 5 bolt to create this union between the handle and the end ball, but the thread's the same on them, so. I've got a bunch of 1/2 inch by 13 all thread, but I think that grade 5 is going to work out a little better. Next, we're just going to chamfer the edge that we tapped. And I think that's going to wrap up this video. So you can kind of see where we're going with the handle. In the next video, we should be finishing up that handle, cleaning up a bunch more parts and polishing them. and yeah, moving right along. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And as always, I will see you next time.